There we go. For some reason it didn't. It should start automatically, but it didn't. So
Yeah. Hmm. That's one of
trials and
those things.
tribulations of the internet. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Never failed to amaze me.
There, I'm going to turn that off. I have to turn the audio off on YouTube because there's about 11-second delay. And if I don't turn the audio off, whatever I'm saying here, 11 seconds later, it's saying it here and I'm getting an echo. So I don't like that.
No, no.
Anyway, yeah.
So
So Janet's in, and I'd like to welcome you, Janet. Or is it Jeanette? I'm not sure. I think it's Janet from, let's see, Mississauga, I think. Okay. Um, for those of you that are watching on YouTube, we'll get started in just a second here. But if you have photographs that you want to show us, or if you want to, engage with us directly, then here is the connection for Zoom, if that's what you want to do. Anyway, let me get on with the little bit of the chat this evening, and we'll see where it goes from there. So I'd like to welcome everybody to Chat Photography with Jorj. And what we're doing here is we bring you information about innovations and cutting edge tech related to photography. That's my main purpose here. But also, I have guest speakers and small short lessons that I like to give. And there'll be just one on lenses tonight and other facets of photography as we go on. I welcome everyone who enjoys photography to come to this forum. If you have images you'd like to share, join us on Zoom, and we'd love to see them and discuss them. If you have any requests on topics that you'd like to see us cover, then please let me know because I'd be happy to do that. So right now what I'd like to do is talk to you about an upcoming guest speaker, Lisa Connor. She's a consummate wildlife and macro photographer. On December 3rd, she'll share with you her images, her techniques, the equipment she uses, as well as some of the challenges she's encountered. So please join us here December the 3rd for Lisa's presentation. Everybody's welcome. Okay, so chat photography with Jorj happens every week at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Zoom and on YouTube. Coming to you from Brantford, Ontario. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the squishy lens that I've promoted for tonight. Advancements in both imaging and recording innovations seem to advance exponentially in the digital field. Now, can you imagine a single lens system that works just like your eye? It adjusts focus, exposure based on the light and the subject you want to focus on, just like your eye. So, introducing the squishy lens. This is a single lens system that could be used for cameras, as well as soft androids and robotics. I can think of many names for this lens, like gummy lens or jelly lens, but they decided to call it squishy lens for now. Perhaps you've got a name that you can give it. I don't know. But whatever you call it, it's amazing. This is a far cry from current camera lens systems. Even top of the lenses on full frame mirrorless cameras require multiple bulky compound lenses to cover a wide range of focal lengths. Photographers use telephoto lenses to shoot wildlife at a distance and macro lenses to capture the fine details of small things close up, say a drop of dew on a blossom. Applications for photography are many. It's flexible, so you could use it for medical use. It could be miniaturized, probably in the future. It's probably waterproof, just like your eye. So what's next? You tell me. Squishy sensors? Squishy cameras? Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities. But there it is, the squishy lens. And I've posted the website for the university where this is being developed. That's on the, let's see, is it on? Yeah, it's on YouTube. So, the squishy lens, amazing piece of technology and advancement. I know that some time ago they were talking about using something similar to this, uh, but it was plastic, and when you squeeze the plastic, it changed the shape of the plastic, and that way it could focus. So you didn't need all the gears that you find in the lenses today to do the focusing in multiple lenses, compound lenses, and so on. But this is far better because it simulates the human eye. In other words, if it gets more light, it'll adjust to it. You can focus it on whatever you're seeing through it. It's it's quite something. I don't understand the entire technology. I did a little bit of reading up on it, but let me tell you, there's a lot of applications and a lot of interesting things. I think there are other universities also playing around with this. I think I saw MIT had something about this lens. So if you search Google for squishy lens, I'm sure you'll find a lot of things about the squishy lens and some of the things that might be upcoming in the future about squishy lenses. Anyway, that's it for squishy lens. And I would just like to ask you if you would like to show any photographs or have anything that you would like to show here on Zoom, you're welcome to do so. Now, let's see. I think I can move on now. Are there any questions? Anything that anybody would like to add?
Mm. No,
No?
it just looks very interesting. I know quite a few years ago, someone developed a system for people abroad uh, where they normal glasses, but they could pump the lens up or down so that they could adjust it for the people.
Yep.
Um, but I'm sure this is something totally different. It looks quite interesting.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, um, innovations are happening very, very rapidly in the imaging field. I'm just waiting for all kinds of new technology that are sort of in the wings and they're developing. I wouldn't be surprised if file types might be changing at a certain point because we've had these file types that we've been using for photography
Mm.
for quite some time. And I'm sure that they're innovating because now the sensors are getting larger and larger in pixel count. So consequently, I think that they might be looking at different types of file types that can handle those large images, but in smaller size somehow. Who knows? I'm not a techie, but I think that would be a good way to go to be able to handle the larger file or pixel counts and still have a small file and still have all the detail in that small file. I don't know how that's going to work out. I do want to encourage you, if you happen to be on YouTube, if you have any questions, then all you have to do is text me. Just let me know if you have questions, then you can either text me or say so on the chat, or let's see, if you do have questions, please uh, don't be afraid to ask. And if we're in the middle of a talk, then ask your questions on chat or comments and precede it by Q colon. That way I know it's a question and we'll get back to it and answer it maybe closer to the end of the program. I think that'll work really fine. If you happen to be on YouTube, I know Janet's there now. Had some trouble with Zoom. Janet, sorry that you did that, have that trouble, but I hope you do join us on Zoom because I'd sure like to hear from you and see some of the images that you have. That would be fantastic. Also, if you are on YouTube, I've put the link in the chat on YouTube. If you want to join us on Zoom and show us some of your images, that would be just awesome. So I'm going to turn that ticker off. But if you have suggestions, then for topics, please let me know. If you have suggestions for guest speakers, I'd be more than willing to approach them to see if they're willing to come on. I know that in the future, like near future, December 3rd will be Lisa Connor, but beyond that, I'm going to have Chris Atkins back talking about his undersea photography in the Mediterranean, looking for Spanish galleon. I'll also be talking to Anka Gaston again, or Anka Gaston, sorry, Anka, and love to have her back to talk about her bird photography and wildlife photography. She's got some interesting things she's posted to her Facebook page. And who else are we going to be talking to? Chris? Oh, Brian Thompson, who's a photojournalist. He'll be talking about some of his other types of photography that he does besides the photojournalism. And you can ask these people questions, and they'll be happy to share information with you. Also, there will be upcoming a section on drone photography for those of you that are interested in drones. So there are things coming up, and you're welcome to come every Wednesday night. We'll be here at 7 p.m. Um, God willing, and the creek don't rise. Who said that? Who said that? I think it was John Wayne. All right. So what have I got for you this evening? Well, lenses. I'm going to go through this very quickly because I know there are photographers, fledgling photographers here who are interested in different types of lenses, what's available, and why would you buy them. We'll start with the shortest focal length. Now remember, when they call something a short lens, it doesn't mean that it's short. It's short focal length. Okay, and a long lens doesn't have to be long. It can be a long focal length. That's what it is. So short lens, short focal length, long lens, long focal length, not the physical size. Okay. So fisheye and wide angle lenses. Here's a couple of them for you right now. And uh, I have shot with fisheye lenses commercially and had very, very few occasions to use it. The one occasion I had to use it, I had to crawl inside um, a heavy water cooling system to show the ends of the tubes, and there was barely enough room for me to back up in the hollow space and be able to take a photograph of all the ends of the tubes. I had to use a fisheye lens there. The thing about fisheye and real wide angle lenses is they tend to distort your images, and consequently, the use is really limited. For example, with some of these fisheye lenses, they're used for novelty purposes. For example, you look at some of the postcards that you have at your card shop, and you'll find that they photograph the heads of dogs and cows. And because they are such short lenses, you have to get in real close, so their nose becomes really big as they come that close, and the rest of their body is really tiny. So it's kind of an interesting perspective. So the only probably the two places that I used a zoom, or not a zoom lens, a fisheye lens, was in that commercial situation, and the other one was in a boardroom where they had just renovated the boardroom. It was beautiful. They wanted to show the whole thing, but the CEO wanted to be in there. If I put him off to the side, then he would look distorted, kind of warp his head. And the only time I would use that kind of warp head look is relatives I don't like, maybe. But other than that, put everybody in the center of the image, because the center is relatively unaffected by that kind of distortion or warping that a fisheye or wide angle lens gives you. And what I did is I put the CEO at the center of the table, and then he was dead center. The rest of the room, the whole that long boardroom table, all the chairs were behind him.
Let's see. I'm just going to. David, can you hear me okay?
Yep, yep, can hear you.
I'm just going to. I just lost power in that.
Yeah, you're not as loud, but I can still hear you.
Never happened before, so hang on just a second. I've got to do a couple of things here. And my iPhone microphone. Mike, we'll try it out. How's that? David?
Yeah.
Oh, you disappeared on me.
Sorry.
Okay, as long as everybody can hear me, we're good to go.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so wide angle lenses. Do you want to just give me a response, David? I want to make sure my speakers are working here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Can you hear me okay? No, I lost you now.
Okay, you got me?
Oh, yeah, but yeah, I've got you now.
All right, I'm just going to increase the volume a little bit here because I got you on my speakers. Okay, I'm going to put these. Forgot to charge those puppies up. Anyway, the audio pretty good, David?
Yeah, yeah, sounds perfect.
Okay, fantastic. So let's get back on with the wide angle lens situation here. So those are the two occasions, but I find that they're fairly expensive lenses that you only use occasionally. And if you're only using them occasionally and you need something like that, my suggestion is always rent them. You can go to somebody here in Southern Ontario like Vistech. They're in Mississauga and Toronto, and there are a few other um, more professional camera stores that will rent equipment as well as lenses. So if you need a specialty lens, rent it rather than buy it, because specialty lenses are something like the fisheye that you won't use too often. The one interesting thing about the fisheye lens is that you have to be careful, because it's such a wide angle that you don't want to get your feet in it. Let me just show you here. I think I can. So this is a
Yeah,
wide
I
angle.
can
This is
see.
a fisheye lens. And if you'll
Mm.
notice at the bottom here, person's feet are
Yeah,
there, right there. Looks like he's wearing sandals, or she, I don't know. All right, so that's something you have to watch out for. You should lean out, lean forward when you're using wide angle that's that wide. All righty. Any questions about wide angle lenses? Remember, if you're on YouTube, you can ask questions. Just type it into the chat and we'll get to you. All
yeah.
right.
Actually,
Pardon,
sorry.
say
I,
again?
I did I did buy one. It was fairly cheap. It's a Loa one. It's 210-degree angle, 4 millimeter. And
Whoa.
I found when I put it on, I'm actually taking a photo of my fingers. I can't It's that wide. It's got my fingers in it, and I can't get rid of them. It's really weird.
Now,
And
if your fingers weren't holding the camera, would it get part of the
yeah,
camera?
I suppose I could put it on a stand, but I think it will still get part of the actual camera. I didn't
Yeah.
really think about it at the time,
Well,
but
you have to put
yeah,
it on a tripod, David.
yeah,
Yeah, and then use the self timer or a remote.
yes, yeah. And the image is so small; it's very difficult to focus as well
Yeah,
because it's a manual focus. So it's yeah, it's interesting.
yeah.
I say it wasn't expensive, so it's just something I thought I'd try.
Well, one of the thing
But
about short focal lengths is that the depth of field is amazing, and that's why they're a little bit difficult to focus, uh,
yeah,
because everything looks sharp, almost everything, unless it's really close to the lens. But yeah, they have phenomenal depth of field. Anyway,
yeah.
going on with prime lens. Now, the prime lens, some people call it a normal lens, and the prime lens is a 50 millimeter on a full frame. And the reason they call it a normal lens or the prime lens is because this lens has the same point of view as your eyes. In other words, if you look at something and you take the camera and you put your eye up to the viewfinder and take it down up to the viewfinder, it looks exactly the same in the viewfinder as it does to the naked eye. So that's why it's considered to be a normal lens. And don't write off these normal lenses. Normal lenses are fantastic. They're prime lens, they're single focal length, and because they are 50 millimeter focal length, the sharpness is amazing. And depending on what kind of lens you buy, what the minimum effective aperture is on that lens, they can be a little bit expensive, but for the most part, they're not that expensive. And it's an excellent second lens. If you bought a kit that has a zoom lens that came with it, then this is the lens that you might want to buy as a backup lens just in case something happens to your zoom lens. Because that's one of the things that I, you know, is drawback to zoom lenses, and that is that if something happens to them, you've lost all your lenses. So always have a backup. And the 50 millimeter prime lens is a good backup lens to have. Okay, next one, telephoto. Now, as soon as we get beyond the 50 millimeter range, then we start going into telephoto area, which is your longest lenses. And these lenses are used primarily by nature photographers. Some portrait photographers and wedding photographers like these for the shallow depth of field that they give you, because the longer the focal length, the shallower the depth of field is at the same f-stop. So these are great for that kind of a situation. Right, next. Um, these are accessories for lenses, and this one's a teleconverter. Now, you can purchase teleconverters. They go between the camera and your main lens. This is a 2 times teleconverter. It has a lens in it, which means if you have a 200 millimeter lens, it now becomes a 400 millimeter lens. But the one thing you have to be cautious of is that they will absorb light. So you might lose one stop or half a stop, depending on how good that glass is, in your exposure value. So that's one thing to be aware of, that you will have that kind of a problem with teleconverters. The other thing with teleconverters is if you've got two of them, you can stack them. And in other words, you can put two times teleconverters on. But again, be aware that you're going to absorb more light by doing that, and consequently, you're going to be losing more. You have to increase your either your ISO or slow down your shutter speed or open up your aperture more in order to compensate for that. Your metering system will do that for you. It'll see that you have lost some light and it'll compensate, but you must be aware that that's what's happening. And watch that shutter speed doesn't drift below a 30th of a second to avoid camera shake.
Yeah. I,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry. I brought one, a Nikon one, but it doesn't. All the lenses don't work with it. I thought they would, but then I didn't really think about it. I just assumed that they would all work with that converter, but they don't. So you have to be a bit careful when you're buying one to make sure it does actually work with the lenses you got. I don't know if you've had that problem.
No, I haven't had that problem, but you're quite right. There are two things that are very important. I know that some people do their shopping at online stores, Amazon being one of the primary ones. But what I would do if I were going to buy something that's going to be put on my camera as a lens, as an adapter, or even as a filter that's going on the front of my lens, I would take my camera into a local store and try it out there. Um, Ask them for a teleconverter that'll fit your camera and your lenses. Now, be aware that if you want a teleconverter that works with all of your lenses that integrate with the body so all the contacts match, that's going to be more expensive. There are ones that have no contacts, and it relies on you to be able to figure out how to uh, change the aperture, or you're working with a fixed aperture, perhaps. I'm not sure, but that's one of the things that you have to be cautious of. I don't know, David, did when you tried it on a different lens, did it just absolutely not work, or the lens
Yeah,
wouldn't
just yeah.
respond?
I got it from Nikon online, from Nikon .ca, and I just assumed that it would work. But it's got a like a spout on it, and so some of the lenses it just stops it from connecting. So
Hmm.
I was quite amazed.
Yeah, I
So
guess you have to know what questions to ask, don't you?
yeah, yeah, you learn by experience. It doesn't really say on their website about compatibility.
Hmm.
So maybe it's something you should bring up with them. So they make it clear that, these do not fit all lenses or say which lenses they do fit.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, whoops, sorry. I would certainly bring that to them. Um,
Although, yeah, I have
yes.
contacted their technical department before, but they weren't very helpful, unfortunately.
Yeah, sometimes it's pretty amazing that they're not as helpful as they should be. Um, and you kind of wonder, it's not good salesmanship uh, to not be able to answer your questions. I know that I went to a trade show once, and a student of mine at the college asked me a question I didn't know the answer to. It was a specific question about something in the menu that they wanted to know what it did or how it changed things. And this was early on in the digital world, but I went to the trade show and I think it was Canon. I went to the Canon booth and they had a nice long booth. They had all kinds of cameras there. And I went to one of the gentlemen behind the booth and said, I have a student that needs an answer about this. And they said, okay, you see that guy, third guy over here? Go to him. He's the one that's an expert in that area. So even they compartmentalize their knowledge
Yeah,
because not everybody knows everything about cameras. And,
yeah, yeah,
sometimes that can be a little bit of a problem. You've got to be talking to the right person. Who do I talk to about this? Right.
yeah, yeah,
So anyway, that goes to show you that, there's a multiple amount of teleconverters that you can put into your lens system. Now, the other one is extension tubes. Now, extension tubes are different than teleconverters. Teleconverters have a lens in them. Extension tubes are hollow. There's no lens in those. All they do is remove your main lens further from the sensor. And by doing that, you get magnification. Now, there's still some image loss because the light has to travel further. So, yeah, you do have a little bit of image loss. And But again, your metering will see that and compensate for it. They too, extension tubes can also be ganged up like they are here. You can use one, or you can use two or three, and they're a nice, inexpensive way of getting macro photography done. Now, when I did macro photography in the studio, we didn't use extension tubes. What we used was a bellows system. So the bellows system, the way that it works, of course, is you can put your lens on this bellows, and then the bellows can be extended on the rail further up or close it in. So you can get any infinite number of extensions away from your sensor in the camera. So the bellows is the way to go if you're doing a lot of macro photography. And these bellows, you can see that there is a cord attached to the front and to the back so that the lens is still connected to the camera, which is important because if you're controlling your aperture and focusing and so on from your camera, you want that kind of control. And this particular bellows setup has that. So, yeah, that's a great way to take macro photographs. One of the macro shots we did at the studio was of a small printed circuit, and you can see the setup here. Let me see if I've got the... No, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, there it is. Red arrow. You can see the setup here, and there's the bellows. You can see how far the bellows has been extended. There is my little chip, my printed circuit, and just lighted with a light off to the side, and you can't see it here because we used a bounce card to bounce some light back into it. And of course, I took the bounce card away to show you the setup here. You can see the rail here and the lens and the extension tube right there. And it gave me a good sharp shot, got in nice and close. So it worked wonderfully for me. Guess I can turn the arrow off. Then there are specialty lenses like the shift tilt lens. Now the shift tilt lens is mostly used for architecture. And the whole idea behind architecture is that you want, when you're taking a photograph of a building, you want the walls to be straight. Obviously, if you're taking a photograph of a building and you can't back up far enough to get the whole building in, you point your camera up. You might use a wide angle lens, but you point your camera up at the building. And when you do that, and David, I know that you and I have talked about this, when you do that, you're building keystones. Well, what a
Yeah.
shift tilt lens does, it keeps the sensor parallel to the building, but the lens is pointed up, not the whole camera, and the sensor remains parallel to the building. So what happens is in your final image, the walls are parallel. Here's an example. So without the shift tilt lens on the left, with the shift tilt lens on the right. And architects like this because they actually didn't build the building the way they're depicted in the left-hand photograph. So they like the other photograph much better.
But the other problem I found until I got a decent lens was that when you try and straighten those buildings up, it distorts the building. It even makes them thinner.
Yeah.
Took a lot of cathedrals, and when I straightened them up, I thought this is ridiculous. They've shrunk in size. Is it just no comparison to what they were?
Yeah. That happens. Of course, you know, a lot of people say, well, I can take it just like the left-hand one, then I can throw it into Photoshop, and there I can change the perspective.
That's
Yes, you
correct.
can. But then you have to also change the scale
Mm.
because the top windows and the bottom windows are a different scale in there. So you might be able to change the perspective, get rid of the keystoning, but now you might have to um, either raise the building a little bit in order to make those windows the same size as the windows at the bottom and so on. So it becomes a bit problematic. If you're doing a lot of architectural photography, then a shift tilt lens might be a worthwhile purchase for you. But if not, then stick to the Photoshop option. Many photographers who take architectural photographs will use a view camera. And a view camera is even better because not only can you keep the sensor straight on it, you can keep the lens straight and just raise the lens, not tilt it, raise it to take the whole building in. Because the field um, of view on the back of the lens is much larger than the sensor area. So by raising the lens, you're actually moving the field of view up a little bit. And that's the way that works. So if you're doing a lot of architectural photography, then you might want to look into a view camera. And they can get expensive. You know, mind you, you can buy them used, some really good quality ones. I know I sold my view camera quite some time ago because I didn't do much architectural work and the studio work. Once we went digital, I didn't use the view camera much anymore because many of my photographs never went much bigger than 8.5 by 11 for catalogs or for the web. The only time that I used a larger film, 4 by 5 inch film, was if they were going to make a mural in their office of their office building or one of their projects, whatever. So that's the only time I used the view camera. So I got rid of it. I'm kind of sad I did. It was a Dutch make, a combo, no, Cambo um, view camera, and it was a good one. Okay, next. What do we got here? Oh, Lens Baby. Now, you actually have to go to the Lens Baby site to see all the different Lens Babies that you can purchase. These are really special effects, weird little lenses that you can put on your camera and move the front lens around to give you what looks like a photograph. If you're taking a city view, it looks like you're looking at a miniature city because only the middle is sort of in focus and the rest of it's out. And it's kind of a weird special effect, and many other special effects, including what I call aperture replacements. And that means that they replace the aperture uh, by using black. I think with the Lens Baby, it's actual metal, and they have different shapes, stars, moons, all kinds of different shapes. And so your bouquet um, when things that are out of focus will take on that shape. It's a whole different thing, and you can actually do that by just cutting out a small shape in a piece of black cardboard and putting it on the front of your lens. Then anything that's out of focus in the background will take on that shape. You'll get all of those different shapes. I'll show you an effect in a minute that is similar to that. And of course, there is extraordinary lenses. Now, this guy's holding up a Sigma lens, and it's a zoom lens, um, and it's not light. Let me see if I can get my little arrow back here again. Didn't mean to poke him in the ear, but there we go. I'm going to go and you can see this plate on the bottom of the lens. That's where the tripod goes. Okay, that's where the tripod goes, right there. And you can also see that if you're going to manhandle this lens, you need muscles. This guy has been doing it for years. This arm is muscular, his other arm is real thin. Just kidding.
What
All right.
size lens?
Pardon me?
What size lens is that? Yeah.
200 to 500.
Wow. Wow.
And here's the interesting part. 200 to 500, but $1 to, oh, this lens is $26,000 plus.
Woo.
So again, it's a rental.
Mm.
Now, I will say one thing about rentals. They're great to have because you don't have to pay for the lens. But if you're going to rent any equipment from a rental place, have insurance on it, your own insurance. They don't always tell you this, but they say they don't insure it once you take it out of the shop. So if
Mm.
you're, taking a lens like this one out, I would call the insurance company a day ahead of time and say, listen, guys, I'm going to be having this lens, $26,000, and I'm going to be using it for 2 days. I need a rider. And I've done that for not only lenses and equipment, because sometimes we rented a lot of equipment, especially when we did staging. And we always insured the equipment. There was one time we did a jewelry shoot and we had over $120,000 worth of jewelry in the studio. I had it insured for the time we had it in the studio. And the insurance cost, like, for 2 days, I think it was $20. Well worth it.
Mm.
So check it out. They might even say to you, okay, for those 2 days that you have this, it's covered by your home insurance because you've got enough on there. Just make sure.
Mm.
That's all I'm saying. Make sure. Okay, so here is the that lens in actual use, and you can see here that that tower is what he's shooting. So pretty good magnification. I've never found, I did once use a 500 millimeter lens, fixed focal length, and they said, try it out. So I was going up north and I thought, okay, I'm going to the beach. Great place to try it out, right? Wrong. That I couldn't use it. Anyway, everything was too close. So the only place I could use it was out in the wild when I'm trying to photograph something that distance away. So limited use. I had no real use. Now, if you're into surveillance photography, yeah, okay, maybe this is a good lens. Don't know. Now, here's one lens that a lot of people overlook, and they don't consider it. And I would if I were you. It's very light. That's the one thing about mirror lenses, sometimes called reflex lenses. They're very light. They're short, and that's the beauty of them. They're short and they're light. They're big around diameter and the front, but they're fantastic to work with. And you can get a lens like this that is 500 millimeters, and it's fairly short compared to the longer, let's see, I got to get in here, the longer fixed lens. 500 millimeter lens, compound lens, is long, but these are lighter and shorter than the same 500 millimeter lens. And the way they work is this. As you can, oh, I didn't mean to have that. 2 arrows. I can't deal with 2 arrows. I can only deal with one. So the light comes in, bounces off a mirror in the back that has a hole in the middle. That light bounces off, hits a mirror on the front of the lens, and then goes in to the sensor in the camera. So the camera is attached here. Now, that's how they get the long focal length and short physical length, because the light comes in. This is now the focal length of that lens. All that light traveling. And the one slight disadvantage is there's no aperture in these lenses. So it will tell you right on the lens what aperture it is set at. The one I used was f5.6. I had to live with that aperture. whatever I was shooting, that's the aperture I had to use. The only two things that I could work with, shutter speed and ISO. Those are the only two. So, slight drawback, but they're great lenses. They're very sharp. The only other thing that some people are really bugged with this lens, I wasn't, because I didn't think it was a real problem. It's just one of the characteristics of this lens is that if things are out of focus in the background, the bokeh is circles. Anything that's out of focus in the background, that's a highlight, they will be circles like that. Mm. Whoops. Circles. And if you look up mirror lenses and the bokeh on mirror lenses, then you'll come up with a lot of the photographs that have this kind of a effect on anything, any highlights that are out of focus on in the background. And of course, the reason that that happens is this, excuse me, uh, circle in the middle of the lens that houses the mirror that reflects the light back in towards the center, the sensor. Okay, because of that, that is what causes that bokeh, because the light comes in as a circle, and anything that's out of focus will become that circle. Okay, just like that. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of my little discussion of lenses. I mean, there's a lot more that we could talk about. One of the interesting things that I asked once, long, long time ago, is why a lot of the telephoto lenses, the fixed focal length, or even zoom lenses that are manufactured by the various companies, Canon, Nikon, so forth, why are they light in color? Why not black like all their other lenses? And what was the answer? What do you think the answer was? If you're on Zoom, please let me know why you think that these large telephoto lenses are light in color or white. Uh, why do you think they're white? And if you are on, no, not Zoom, if you're on YouTube, let me know where you're from. And if you have any questions, don't be afraid to write them in the chat, ask your questions. If you have any topics that you'd like us to discuss, love to discuss them with you. Okay. Or have them in another chat. We're here every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. You're welcome to come in. No charge. Okay. And David, you've been one of my stalwart companions on this thing. If it weren't for you, I'd have nobody to talk to some nights.
Well, I can't think why I must admit, I've often wondered why they are white, but I haven't got a clue why.
Yeah.
But
I don't know either. I think that this forum, I went back and I looked at when I started this. I think it was back in March. I started the forum. No, April. And this is the 18th session this evening. The 18th
uh,
session of the forum. And I've been trying to build up a bit of a following, if people are interested, through some of the guest speakers. We've had some fantastic guest speakers. Like I said, Chris Atkins on photography around the world. He's traveled to Siberia, he's traveled to the Near East, he's traveled in the Amazon, he's traveled and has done deep sea photography in the Caribbean and elsewhere, including the Great Lakes, close to where I live. And he's an Ontarian. And Anka. And now on December the 3rd, of course, we're going to have Lisa Connor. Great wildlife shots she has. She's going to be talking about how she does those. But yeah, if you have any topics you'd like us to cover or talk about, also go to my YouTube channel. There are short little bite-sized photography lessons. That's what I call them, bite-sized lessons in photography. So you're welcome to look at those. And if you have any that you'd like to see me develop, I'll develop them. Again, there's no charge for you to do that. And or if you have suggestions, anything else, suggestions on the way to improve our presentation, I'm all ears. Actually not, but anyway, let's see. I think that brings us to the end of our presentation. If anybody's watching on YouTube, please throw it into your chat. Where are you from? I'm interested to hear where you're from and how you came about to find us. I don't know. Did you just happen to accidentally find us, or were you looking for something that had to do with photography? And if you're interested in photography, what kind of photography are you interested in? Um, I know I'm not sure if Janet's still here, but Janet, thank you very much for coming out. I really appreciate it. And thank you for trying Zoom. I hope you can get Zoom running because I'd like to have you participate in the chat. I'd love to see some of the photographs that you've taken too. That would be fantastic. Okay, well, if there are no other things to talk about, where am I at then? Let's see. The only other thing that I have here for you is something. I don't know if you're interested. I know we're very close to 8 o'clock. I like to finish by 8, but let's talk just quickly about perspective because this is something that came up in the forensic photography chat. In the forensic photography chat. Thanks, Jen. You're still here. Fantastic. Listen, and they said that when they're taking photographs for courtroom cases, you have to use the normal lens. You have to use the prime lens the way the eyeball sees things, because if you use another lens, it could be very, very deceptive. All right. Now I'm just going to see, do I have, yeah, got my little arrow here. And you can see this is a shot with a wide angle lens. The person is full height in this shot. Look where the bridge is. Now, using a longer focal length lens, but making the person the same height, and you do that by backing up. Then a longer focal length lens, you have to back up even more to make the person the same height. And here, the longest focal length lens, look at the bridge and where they are. So there's a perspective change here as to how close is this person to that bridge. And in a courtroom, when somebody says, "Oh, I saw the person," and they introduce this picture and they say, "How could you have possibly seen that person? There's no way that this young lady can see that person at the bridge." Whereas here, you could say, "Oh, yeah, she could see him. No problem." So which one is the right one? The one that was taken with the 50 millimeter lens. That's the right one. Okay. And if you're on vacation, perspective counts. Here's a situation where here's a sign with some hills in behind. You can take this photograph with a wide angle lens. You have to get in nice and close to make it this size. But if you get in that close, it diminishes the size of the hills. If you want to accentuate the size of the hills, use a telephoto lens, move back, and make that sign the same size as it was with the wide angle lens. But now look at the difference in the hills. That's the change in perspective. Different focal length and moving. Some people think that if you have a zoom lens, you can change the focal length. Yeah, you certainly can change that, but that doesn't change perspective. You actually have to bodily move the camera away or closer in order to change perspective. Anyway, I thought I'd throw that in there as a little addition tonight. And that's one of the assignments I'm giving my students tomorrow. So, perspective change. Okay. So again, let's see if I'm just going to go down here and I'm going to bring, I've been messing around with this thing, David, where I bring a guest in, but what I do is I bring them in like this. Whoop, sorry. I think like this. Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, that didn't work
Like,
the way I thought it would. Oh, I know. Heh. There we go. Nope, that's not it.
getting there.
All right. I'm going to have to save that for another time because I know that I did this somehow and it worked out great. Oh, here it is. Ta-da! Bring you in like this. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
well
bring
done.
me in first. And I say, well, David, come on in. Zoop, you come in. And so this is how I work with my guests. So you actually get to see the guest, talk to them, and see their work.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, David, for being my subject. And I can get rid of that arrow now, I think. Yep. Okay, bringing the night to an end. Please give me a like. Just click down there and give me a like so that I know you liked what you heard tonight and what you saw and what we're doing here. And of course, if you haven't, please subscribe. And then you'll have a subscription to all the upcoming chats, including many of my just, you know, uh, little bite lessons. Okay. All right. So thank you, everybody. And this video will remain on YouTube, so you can go back and look at it as I have with all the other videos. So you can see all our guest speakers. You can see all these people again and look over there were some really interesting guest speakers. I think all of them were interesting, but yeah, nice to have you here. I'd like to say good night to everybody. So with that, good night, good shooting.